Edúcate en Casa, un nuevo espacio de la Secretaría de Educación de Barranquilla dedicado especialmente a la lectura y literatura. En alianza con Itza Radio llegaremos a toda la comunidad educativa para acercar más a nuestros niños y jóvenes al mundo de los libros, las historias y los cuentos. Todos los lunes y miércoles a las 9:30 am sintoniza Edúcate en Casa en Itza Radio 106.6 FM para que estemos conectados siempre.
Welcome to English Radio Barranquilla on Itza Radio. Module 2. Lifestyles and Culture. Lesson 11. Let's talk about our city and our culture. Today and every Monday, we'll bring a new lesson for you. Today, I want to introduce to you Alex Baer, an English teacher who worked at Uninorte and makes content on TikTok, YouTube, and other social media, sharing cultural differences and English tips. So what can happen when a young American visits Barranquilla for the first time?
Hey Claudia, thanks so much for having me. So when I left the airport in Soledad for the first time, I remember the heat was so intense and the sun was very bright. That's really the first thing I remember. In the taxi driving to the north of the city, it felt very different from other cities in Latin America. I remember the painted buses and seeing the motocarros, which we call tuk-tuks in English, as well as the banana trees near the Circunvalar. All things we don't usually see in the United States. The first thing I wanted to do was go buy fruit from the street vendors, because where I live in the United States, it's hard to find different kinds of fruits, like papaya and passion fruit, or maracuya, as you guys say.
Most of us are afraid to change our lifestyle, to get out of our comfort zone. Alex, tell us how you ended up in Barranquilla.
Okay, that's a great question. So I won a scholarship, actually. The Ministry of Education works with the US government to promote cultural exchange. 80 young Americans arrived with me to work at universities in 25 different Colombian cities, from Monteria to Leticia. I worked in Colombia teaching English at Uninorte in Barranquilla and sharing American culture with my students. And by American, I mean estadounidense. In English, we don't really have a word for estadounidense other than American.
Barranquilla definitely has something special. When visitors come, they don't want to leave. Alex, what were your favorite places in town? What do you miss the most?
Absolutely. I really miss Barranquilla. I especially miss going to the Malecón, or Riverwalk, as we would say in English. One of the best tourist activities you can do, in my opinion, is go to a seafood restaurant in Las Flores and then take a tour of the Magdalena River on a boat. There was so much wildlife on Salamanca Island when I went on the tour. It was beautiful. I also loved my neighborhood, Adelita de Char, which is in La Playa. On the weekends, people always played music and there was so much activity and noise, which was really a happy environment to be in. I lived with a Colombian woman and her daughter, and they became like my family. We shared a lot of meals together, and I learned even how to cook my own arepas and fried plantains, which we usually don't eat in the United States. And lastly, of course, I miss the music. I miss champeta, I miss merengue, I miss salsa, yo arroyo, all of that. I'd never heard of champeta before I came to Barranquilla, but I loved it. You know, I always thought it sounded like there was a little puppy dog barking in the background, like, arr, 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 keeping the beat of the music. So, truly was something I liked. And lastly, I can't forget about the iguanas. I had never seen iguanas before outside of zoos, and I thought they were so beautiful. It made me so happy to see them every day.
Did you know there are toilets without any doors or privacy in China? And that they have menus of options like playing music in Japanese toilets? Food portions in America are extra large. People eat dogs in Cambodia. Foreigners are shocked when people really gather to see a road accident in Colombia, or that you can see chickens in Latin American buses. and also that American waiters expect tips in restaurants? Tell us, Alex, what did you expect when you arrived to Barranquilla? What was the funniest thing that happened to you here?
I expected a very tropical city with lots of new sights and sounds, which was mostly the reality I experienced. Many people in the United States think Colombia is just jungle, like the Amazon, but of course it's not all jungle. My parents always asked me if there were big snakes and spiders in Barranquilla, but I never saw any. Lots of funny things happened to me, especially when I was using the buses in Barranquilla. I always used buses, so Busa, Cotrans Norte, Puerto Colombia. And I love the buses, especially the ones that have the photos of the driver's family on the back window. Those always made me happy. I had never seen anything like that in other cities. One funny thing that always happened to me in Colombia and in Barranquilla was people would call me Monito. So I'm blonde, so of course, people would say, "Hey, Monito." And in the United States, it's usually disrespectful to give people nicknames based on appearance, like narizón, mocho, flaco, or moreno. But of course, in Colombia, it's very different. I thought it was cute that the señoras would always call me Monito, and it really made me laugh.
Most people agree that Barranquilleros are really friendly and outgoing. How can you describe people from Barranquilla?
People from Barranquilla are very inviting. Outside of Carnaval, there aren't many tourists that visit Barranquilla, so people aren't used to seeing visitors like in Cartagena or in Santa Marta. Some people in Barranquilla talk loudly, but not everyone. And children in Barranquilla are very curious and like to make noise. The children in my neighborhood would always watch me, and one day, one came up to me and asked if I was gringo. And I said to him, "Ajá, te parece?" And he kind of ran away and was very shy.
Thank you, Alex, for being here with us today. Finally, can you share with us some tips and common mistakes when practicing English?
That's a great point. Many students, I think, get comfortable using the same greeting or saludo too often. They always say, "Hi, how are you?" "Fine, thank you." But it sounds a little robotic sometimes. To sound more natural, les dejo con un saludo bien chévere a lo estadounidense. Many times we say, "What are you up to?" or "What you up to?" when we speak quickly. What are you up to? It means, ¿qué estás haciendo? Another common mistake that students make is using the word career to talk about una carrera universitaria. If you're going to college soon, make sure to use the word major to talk about what you study. For example, in college, my majors were international relations and Spanish language. In the United States, it's very common to get a double major or dual degree. Lastly, my tip for you all is that Netflix is an awesome way to practice English. Watching shows in English with the subtitles on builds both your reading and listening skills at the same time. It's really, really helpful, and you will find that it makes it easier to get good grades in English class.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us today on English Radio Barranquilla. Don't forget to practice English and complete your worksheet with your teacher. See you next time.
Edúcate en Casa, un nuevo espacio de la Secretaría de Educación de Barranquilla dedicado especialmente a la lectura y literatura. En alianza con esta Radio llegaremos a toda la comunidad educativa para acercar más a nuestros niños y jóvenes al mundo de los libros, las historias y los cuentos. Todos los lunes y miércoles a las 9:30 am sintoniza Edúcate en Casa en esta Radio 106.6 FM para que estemos conectados siempre.